Greetings, Earthlings. My name is Patrick. I am a male shaman. I'm a gay male shaman. I love men. I love shamanism. I love healing. I love getting along with people. Shamans also like to help solve complex social problems. It's what we're all about, yo. It's what we're all about. But, you know, our culture has a problem with men. And I want to know how we can really help men. Do you know something interesting? Here, I'm going to show you something interesting. This is interesting here. Look here. These are the analytics of the Shaman Patrick Show channel. It's 86% female that watch this channel, which is funny to me because I primarily made this channel for men. I wanted to help men. And in a roundabout way, I think I'm doing that. I think I am, because many of you ladies out there, you also love men. I mean, men are easy to love unless you hate those men. I don't know why people would hate men. Look, I don't know where this man hating stuff started, but I noticed that around 2016, 2017, there was this man hating. White men are dangerous. White men are bad. White men are evil, toxic masculinity, all that shit. I'm thinking, I'm a white man. What did I ever do to you? What did I ever do to you? I remember in 2018, I was talking to somebody and she said, yeah, they're coming for the white men. I'm like, what did we do to you? What did we do? I think it was all a psyop because they really thought Hillary was going to be the president. So they had all these movies. I think it was part of our presidential campaign to get Hillary elected. And if that doesn't fucking disgust you, you might be high. Because it is disgusting to hate on an entire segment of the population just to get a woman president elected. And it's also very misogynist. Like, a woman couldn't get elected on her own without a psychological operation. Women are better than that. At least I believe so. But I really want to help men. And I think that it's time for men to get some help. You know, women, y'all get a lot of help. Women get a lot of help these days. But let's help the men. Masculinity is being restored on this planet. And I know this, and it's happening automatically. And I want to help the women out there to get ready for masculine men to make a comeback. Hey, we've missed them. We've missed them. All we've gotten lately is these little girly men. Bill Gates. What a pansy. What a pansy. Masculine men are coming back, baby. What little Ben Shapiro. Little Ben Shapiro. Shut the fuck up, Ben Shapiro. We want to hear from men again. Masculine men. So how could we really help men? Let's talk about that today on this episode of the Shaman Patrick Show. Are you ready? Let's go.
He was once a storm in human form, sharp tongue, cold soul, heart worn and torn, living like a ghost who missed his grave till the spirit sang out and called him brave. He got rewired by the great unknown, heard the call like a dial tone to the bone. So pull up a chair, enjoy the glow. This is the Shaman Patrick Show.
Okay, so I'm making this video because of a song. We came up with this song called Fuck Your Master's Degree. And I said, I got to come up with a topic for this song, which I'm going to play the song Fuck Your Master's Degree at the end of this video. It's our first video that got our song that got an 18 and over rating. Apparently the subject matter is just so disturbing that you have to be 18 plus to even hear it. And I'm like, man, this is our best song. What a shame. What a shame. But it does talk shit about mental health. So the mental health industry. So as a shaman, I would be critical of the mental health industry. I'm critical of psychiatry. I should be, because I am a shaman. I may have mentioned that. So I'm going to start this video with looking at something over on X. I know, famous last words. So over on X, I had to find this video. I didn't think I would be able to find this video, but I did, and it's from this woman. We're going to hear what she has to say.
Mandatory vasectomies for baby boys. Yeah, I said it. And if that made you flinch, good. You won't want to miss part 2 either. Trust me. You want to solve half of society's problems? Start there. Because here's the truth. Men don't want to wear condoms. They don't want accountability. They want raw. And when the baby comes, they say, oh, it's not my problem, so fine. Mandatory vasectomies. Problem solved. Abortions, they would drop overnight. Date rape pregnancies, gone. Single motherhood, cut in half. Generational trauma, reduced. And crime? Crime would plummet. Because fatherless homes are the #1 pipeline to gangs, violence, and prison. Fix the fathers, fix the future. This one move would take women out of survival mode, kids out of poverty, and society out of chaos. And the only ones mad would be the ones that never wanted accountability in the first place. So yeah, call it savage. But if we snip the problem at the root, we'd finally see what society looks like when women aren't carrying it all. Don't scroll, catch part 2 because the return on investment would be mind-blowing.
All right, so first of all, she gets this wrong. Men do want to be accountable. Here's the thing about men. They do want to take care of their families. They're just not able to. They're not able to because there's been a campaign against men. I used to make videos about men on my other YouTube channel 10 years ago. I started making videos about men, trying to help men, and they came after me. They came after me. You weren't necessarily allowed to talk about how to help men 10 years ago. You really weren't. They'd come after you. You were only like men were demonized. Men are still demonized, but that doesn't work very well in the long run. And it's not the men necessarily who are the problem. It is the government policies that enable women to be single mothers. It's welfare, it's WIC, it's food stamps, all that stuff. That is the enabling of the fatherless home. Men are not the problem. The government programs are the problem. There you go. Happy birthday. Because I've experienced this other thing as well. Did you know that in Tennessee, before the father signs the birth certificate, there has to be a paternity test because 1/3 of all births are fraudulent. Say what? 1/3 of all births are fraudulent. And so women are now going to be held accountable for maternity fraud. And are you shocked at that 1/3 number that men are paying child support on children that are not theirs? You know, if I were a father today, I would make sure that child is mine. I would make sure that child is mine. So yeah, it's bad for everybody out there. These government policies are bad for everybody, but things are changing. Things are changing. And I really want to help men. But this noise that she's speaking, I mean, I know men and I know women. And you know what? It doesn't matter who's to blame. I'm about unity. Let's fix this shit. Let's fix this shit. But how do we really help men? Do we even know how to help men? Well, you got to really know what men are all about before you can help them. I have not had a male boss. The last time I had a male boss, like an immediate male boss, was probably in the 90s. All my bosses have been women. And I don't understand how women have such a bad time when there are women run HR departments. Women are in control. Women are in control now more than ever. Women have more power and more control. And I know some of you women out there would say, that's the problem. Women are running too much of the shit. Did you know almost all school teachers are women? So women are raising everybody. Some boys go their whole life and they don't ever have a male role model. All they see is women. I mean, it's true. It's true. I don't hate women, you see, but there's not balance. There needs to be balance. I don't think any mother wants to be a single mother. But why is she not mad at the government policies that enable such a thing? So the first way that I want to help men is to let them know that help is available. Help is available. I think shamanism is a good fit for men, and I'm going to talk about that later in this video. But the best way to help men is to realize that men do need help. Men really do need help, especially in this world where they often don't get jobs because, well, they do get, men go for the dangerous jobs. Men do get jobs, but you know, we're shut out of leadership in favor of women a lot. I know that in my case, a woman would be promoted over me. I know this to be true. It happened to me at my last job. A woman, and the only reason I was able to even have a job is because they needed men for the job to work in a men's facility. Otherwise, it would be women. Women are overrepresented in therapy and things of that nature, social work, all that stuff. So yeah, but I definitely don't believe there should be quotas as well. Time out. I was editing this video and I was like, okay, well, where is this anti-male sentiment coming from? Like, what? People would just not come up with this on their own. Where are they getting it? Higher education. And so let's look at an article from Susan Shaw. And she wrote this article. This is the Baptist News Global. And she's got a master's degree. This is probably what it's all about. This is what fuck your master's degree is all about. Let me make this bigger so I can read it. This is an article. It says the straight white men are not all right. So she's lumped all straight white men together. Now look at Susan. She is what we call a mean lesbian. A mean lesbian. How is this Baptist? How is this Baptist? Are you fucking kidding me? I think this is a psyop. This website looks like a psyop to me. So, spirits are trying to take my voice again. So Susan M. Shaw, she's a professor of women, gender, and sexuality studies at Oregon State University in Oregon. She's also an ordained Baptist minister and holds master's and doctoral degrees from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. Her most recent book is Intersectional Theology, an Introductory Guide. She's either a trained Marxist or a useful idiot. I'm going to say she's probably a useful idiot. What is this website? What is this website? What is it? What is this website? In the fight against patriarchy. Well, honey, patriarchy, that shit's not really going on. Relax, honey. It's not really going on. I hate to break it to you. Okay, so the straight white men are not all right. So in this article, I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing, but she said, as each day since the presidential inauguration has passed, I found myself wondering more and more what's wrong with straight white men. I feel like we're living in some version of revenge of the straight white men because they are so threatened and upset by the advances of women, people of color, and LGBTQ people. Honey, where are you getting this shit? Where are you getting this shit? This is why when you go to college, you get indoctrinated. Hey, the best thing that ever happened to me was that I quit college. I only got like a year and a half done towards a journalism degree, and I'm like, this is crazy. They're brainwashing me here at this college. My husband was high all through college, so even though he got a degree, he didn't get indoctrinated. And when people go to college today, I'm like, don't get indoctrinated. Don't get indoctrinated. Most people do get indoctrinated. But where are you getting this shit? This is crazy. This is crazy. Nobody cares if women get ahead or people of color get ahead. Or why are you so racist, Susan? Why are you so racist and misogynist? Lord have mercy. So she says, somehow straight white men seem to feel the small strides made toward equality for others have infringed on their God-given rights to have it all. Honey, women have the advantage in the workplace and in college. They do. They do. Women have the advantage right now. So I don't think men are upset toward equality. We're all equal. We've had equality for quite some time. And in fact, here's a good test to see if you know, if you're privileged. When you're privileged, equality feels like oppression. If anything, when you're more equal than ever before. You're more equal than ever before. And I'm a gay guy. I don't feel like my rights are being infringed or anything like that. I don't know any gay person who feels that way. I don't really even know any women that feel that way. Crazy, isn't it? Somehow straight white men seem to feel the small strides made toward equality for others has infringed on their God-given rights to have it all. So now we're seeing a resurgence of a straight white bro culture that is overtly racist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, and xenophobic. That's just in Trump's appointees. They embrace toxic, racist misogyny and cultic masculinity, have become the model for the discontented everyday man whose lives have not turned out to be the American dream they believed there was their birthright simply for being straight men. Susan, have you tried therapy? Honey, have you tried therapy? I think a man hurt you. This is an extremely weird worldview to have. Was that what you're seeing? Is that what you're seeing in the world? These istophobes? Y'all know about istophobes? She's mad because nobody's buying this toxic feminine shit anymore. That's what she's mad about. Hey, we've seen through all this shit, yo. The intersectional of all that stuff was a grift. That was a grift to control people, and we saw through it. Honey, if I were you, I'd be mad too. I didn't think that they were still going on about this shit. I thought it had all been exposed. But so color me surprised. Because see, this is a victim narrative. You're like, just, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I want to be a victim of this shit. Please make me a victim of the straight white man. Susan, go get some therapy. Do you know that you don't even have, you can go on betterhelp.com to get therapy. So she says for men, power is a limited resource. They see power. And here's another thing. I love it when women write articles about men. I love it when women, you look at what I'm eating. It's fall, so it's time for Brock's Mellow Cream Autumn Mix. This is one of my favorite candies, and it's little pumpkins and little candy corns with chocolate on the end of them. I love them. So, Susan, this is crazy. Like, I canceled my subscription to Men Health because it had articles from women about what men were thinking and what men were all about. Isn't that fucking wild? Isn't that fucking wild to you? I could not imagine writing an article about women and how women should be, or projecting how women should be. Who the fuck are you, Susan? Who the fuck do you think you are? This is all a projection. So let's put it, let's reframe it back to Susan. For women, power is a limited resource. They see power as a power over, the ability to control that comes with money, institutional authority, guns, and physical dominance. You want that power, Susan. You want that power. And you have that power now, and you know it. She says they feel entitled to that power over all the rest of us, and we see that clearly all around us. Clergy abuse of children and women, the outlawing of abortion as a means to control women's sexuality. No. Hey, nobody is trying to control women's sexuality than other women. Nobody wants to control women that much. That's an old, honey. Men want to love women. Men want to love women. They don't want to control them. They don't want to do that. The teaching of wives' submission to their husbands, honey, that's not true. That's not true. And blaming immigrants for failures of straight white men to fulfill their own fantasies of wealth, dominance, and power. Men are so simple. They are so simple, Susan. I bet she's real fun to hang out with. So anyway, everyday straight white men identify with the power. What? Damn, she's racist, sexist, homophobic. Oh, God. So anyway, our political engagement must match our religious faith. Like Jesus, we must say no to the temptation of power, the kingdoms of this world, and join in God's eternal yes to love and justice for every single one of God's children. So she says, yes, I know, not all men, but the men who understand how white male power works also know that saying not all men is the easy out for avoiding their own responsibility for straight white male privilege and institutional power. I also know many women go along with bro culture. I'm looking at you because they gain their own power from aligning themselves with dominant men, although, man, she's retarded. Let's retard max this. Let's retard max this. Honey, your fantasies of straight white men are extremely flawed. Men are really simple. They just want to love their women. And why would I tell you any differently? Why would I cover for straight white men? Why would I do that? Be logical about this shit. Honey, you're sick. You need therapy. You need help, Susan. And you got your fancy degrees. And you're an ordained minister. I'm gonna tell you what. Fuck your master's degree. Fuck it. Well, so this video, we're gonna try to address the needs of men. How can we really help men? So women, you can complain about men all you want. You can complain about how bad men are, but are you willing to help the men in your life? Are you willing to help them? These are your sons. These are your brothers. These are your fathers. These are your husbands. Do you really want to help men? Or do you want to complain about them? So let's see. We're going to watch this video from this guy. This is called Why Therapy is Not Designed for Men. And in this video, he goes into some of the differences between men and women. And I think we're leaving the land that men and women are the same. I think we're leaving that land, aren't we? Are we leaving that land behind? Because when people say that men and women are interchangeable and men and women are the same, it does everybody a disservice. It does a disservice to everybody. I think it does a disservice more to women than it does men. But let's listen to this video.
Therapy is not designed for men. I will explain why using what we know according to science. My sources will be linked in the description. Firstly, let's go into what I mean by therapy is not designed for men. Did I say that all men should or should not go into therapy? Did I say therapy does or does not work for all men? No. Yet I stand by my claim that therapy is not designed for men. In this video, I'm going to explain the inherent disconnect between men and women when it comes to therapy, explain how therapy's fundamental design is not suited for men, why it doesn't work for a lot of men, and what a better alternative is. So for those who have had positive experiences with therapy, and they spread this message that others should go to therapy, I believe your intentions are pretty good, but you're missing part of the picture here. So let me give you some perspective on this. Imagine if a man came up to you and he said,
"You're going to therapy? That never worked for me. Instead, what you should do is just go to a quiet place where you are alone. Then take all that pent-up rage and stuff it down like a turkey on Thanksgiving. Next, get those muscles working with some good old push-ups. Trust me, it's like hitting the reset button for your soul.
That right there is exactly what it feels like for many men who are constantly told, you should go to therapy. Many of us have just different ways of coping and dealing with stress, depression, and negative emotions, and they work differently for us. And just because it worked well for you, doesn't mean it's going to work the same for other people.
Now, here, as a gay man, I was sent to therapy a lot in my life, and I thought that was the only option. What did I learn in therapy? That the only thing that therapy worked for was for me to get a sense of the insanity going on all around me. Eventually, this is the point that I got in therapy, that I was having a normal emotional reaction to the insanity all around me, and I was not the crazy one. That's what therapy did for me. Like my later years of therapy were me grappling with really uncomfortable, painful relationships with the truly mentally ill people in my life. The mentally ill people in my life who refused to get treatment or even go to therapy or even realize that they had a problem at all. I was the identified patient, so I thought I was the sick one. But it turned out, surprise, I'm the sane one. After all, I was the sane one. So I went to therapy, and my last couple of years in therapy were simply that. Like how do you stay in relationship with delusional people? How do you stay in relationship with people who are dry drunks? And eventually I just got to the point, well, I could just set boundaries with all these people. So therapy, talk therapy for me was never me talking it out. It was me coming to terms with things. And I think that's what therapy is good for with men. Like my work today is about calming people down, helping people grapple with ego issues and shadow work and stuff like that. I don't do therapy for people, but I can see exactly where he's coming from. Therapy, to think that therapy is a one size fits all. I have said to people in the past, just go see a therapist. Go see a therapist. But if you're a masculine man, is that even going to work for you? Is that even going to work for you? By the end of this video, you might see how to best help the men in your life. If you're a man, this might be the best thing for you as well.
Men finds therapy to be very ineffective. But going back, how can I even say that therapy isn't designed for men? What does that even mean? Well, believe it or not, my source of information is not just like rehashing of some red pill manosphere content or whatever Andrew Tate says. My reasoning comes from what the studies show on how men and women cope and deal with depression, stress, negative emotions differently from one another. Not only that, but the symptoms of depression are displayed differently between the sexes. This is why there are these common myths that people actually still believe to this day, where some people believe that women are several times more likely to be depressed than men, which is just absolutely untrue. We're supposed to believe that women are much more depressed than men, despite the fact that men kill themselves far more frequently? To me, that just makes no sense. The issue was the studies failed to measure the symptoms correctly. Men and women displayed different symptoms for depression and things like stress, which led to incorrect results. It's as if you're asking men in a different language altogether, are you stressed? Are you depressed? Are you whatever? They can't give you a reliable or accurate answer because you both don't speak the same language.
This is really good to bring up. For up until probably the last 10 years of human history, you would never hear from somebody like me. You would never hear from somebody like him. You had the mental health professionals they talked about mental health. Everybody else, you were considered lay people. You were never able to hear other people's experiences. And today we get to hear from different types of people from all walks of life. And isn't it amazing? Like I'm a scapegoated child. It should never have gotten to this point. You don't hear from people like me. And this is because 99% of scapegoated kids die without realizing it was never their fault. You don't hear from people like me. Generally. At all. That's why some of the things that I say can be so off-putting to people. It should never have gotten this far, both in my family and my husband's family. So if Merrick and I had never gotten married, we probably would both be dead by now, because we come from very unconscious families who have a lot of fucking issues that they don't want to get help with. And so it fell to us to break the cycle, and breaking that cycle is very difficult. But the fact that God put my husband and me together, we realize, well, we say it daily, like we probably would be dead. How would that happen? Well, eventually I would have to go move back in with my family, and Merrick would have to go move back in with his. We would relapse and die. I mean, you don't get out of this shit alive. You don't. So it is rare that I'm able to speak. You don't hear from us. It got too far, and especially it shouldn't have gotten to the point where we have YouTube channels where we talk about this stuff. It's bad for them. You see, it's bad. This stuff should never have gotten out. Never have gotten out. So we do live in an amazing time where men are getting better at articulating how they feel, especially in the video we watched yesterday. And even the semen retention video interview that I did with Warco a couple weeks ago. I'm interviewing another man in an upcoming episode about conscious parenting. So hearing from men about how they feel is great, isn't it? But men like this were never given an opportunity to speak before. I certainly wouldn't have the opportunity. And yeah, even though I'm gay, I am still very much a man. But because I'm gay, I have a different language to speak about the way that I feel. Because men and women do speak a different language. We have different ways of dealing with things in our life.
For example, women with depression are more likely to express their emotions outwardly, displaying signs of sadness, crying, or verbalizing their feelings. Men, however, are more prone to internalizing their emotions, are more irritable, angry, and more prone to risk-taking. This isn't even on the level of people speaking different languages. Men are physically incapable of talking about these things at all. Now, not all men and women are like this. Some women are more masculine, and some men are simply more feminine, which is why I never said that all men can't get something out of therapy or shouldn't go to therapy, because not all men are the same or masculine. Yet, it's a true generalization. According to what we know, this is how the masculine and the feminine deal with depression. Now that
Okay, I do want to say that when I started doing semen retention, a lot of feminized behaviors started getting purged from me. And Merrick and I both were like purging this, like the complaining. A feminized man would complain, but a masculine man would just take action on stuff. So the semen retention, I guess, gave us a testosterone boost. I'm just theorizing here. And also, we kind of went through this second puberty. They talk about this second puberty, where you grow up, where you know, from the time that you can first ejaculate, you're in a constant refractory stage, and your hormones never balance out. You never give yourself the opportunity to just truly step into your masculinity, because you're jaggling all the time, or you're spilling your seed, or you're obsessed with sex. It does something to your brain. It infantilizes you. It feminizes your brain. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way at all. But a feminized man is a weak man. A weak man is a dangerous man. And masculine men are not dangerous. They are protectors. They are providers. And, you know, if we go back to that video that the woman made at the beginning, yeah, weak men are going to get women pregnant and then ghost to them. That's a weak male behavior. So I do want to draw the distinction between masculine men in their power and feminized weak men, because the distinction does need to be made. A man who is aware of his feminine qualities, a balance of those, is gonna know when to use those things and when to leave them alone. I truly believe that.
we understand that, let's look at therapy on a fundamental level. What is therapy? Therapy is where somebody listens to you, hears you out, and then offers a solution to your problems. Now let me ask you, what happens when you try to do this to a man, especially very masculine men? The more masculine men, they generally tend to avoid these things. And because of that, people get the idea that this is toxic masculinity. It forces you to suppress your emotions. They are insecure and they're hiding it. They're pretending to be masculine. Men need to stop suppressing their emotions and release them like women do. Excuse me. What do you think a very masculine man would do if he just released his emotions? A man's form of releasing his emotions would be to smack you. Men release emotions through action. You don't want him to release his emotions. That's just stupid.
Yeah. So think about that. When you want a man to be in touch with his emotions, part of being a man is action. So when you want a man to release his emotions, that's crazy. I never thought of that.
A lot of people don't take into account how men and women experience different emotions at different levels when they're stressed or depressed. If it's one thing, it's not toxic masculinity that's stopping him from releasing his emotions. It's the police and law enforcement. Then people wonder why when a man is depressed or stressed that he goes off to a quiet place in his room and he just bottles up his emotions. Now look, I'm all for releasing emotions. It's not healthy to bottle them up, but you just can't expect a man to release them the same way women do.
And I noticed that when Merrick would get phone calls, he would want to play video games. He would want to seal himself off from the world to deal with those emotions. Now I am back to encouraging Merrick to play video games as much as he possibly can, because that's how he deals with his emotions. And I've backed off of that. I'm like, honey, you do what you need to do. You do what you need to do. I know he's grappling with some pretty tough things. I myself am grappling with some pretty tough things right now, and we're dealing with it in the best way that we know how. My way of dealing with it is to spend a lot of time alone and sort through all of these emotions that I buried for decades. I don't want to go to therapy right now. I don't want to talk it out. I just want to work, make content, be of service, and play video games. And I'm getting better. I'm not getting better in therapy. And in fact, neither was Merrick. And that's the fact. That's the fact. So yeah, we're working on alternative ways to help men. We're going to talk about that later in this particular episode about shamanism helping men, leaning into shamanism, abandoning therapy, abandoning telling people to go get therapy. I mean, I shifted. I did. Y'all are going to have to get used to the new version of me because I shifted.
Therapy. I mean, for crying out loud here. Women tend to use both hemispheres of the brain when speaking and processing verbal information, whereas men tend to use just one side. So men are physically incapable of verbalizing their emotions on the same level as women can. So do you honestly believe that his form of releasing his emotions would simply be talking or going to therapy? Now I know you mean good, but what you should instead tell him is to go release his emotions on a punching bag and just
Yeah, because men have a hard time articulating how they feel. Even me, I told you, I'm getting better at articulating things. I mean, I've just come to realize that I might possibly have been being gaslit and abused for the past several years. Okay, I'm coming to terms with that stuff. And by somebody I didn't expect it from. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. So, but I'm getting better at articulating how I feel about it all. Not necessarily here on camera. I don't think I'm gonna express it here on camera, but Merrick and I have these really just like discussions of, we're getting better at articulating it, because really there are no words for this kind of shit for a man, because it's very emasculating to realize that somebody was fucking around with you. It's no man wants to come to terms with that they were being abused or being manipulated or anything like that. It's hard to articulate it. So how are we doing it? We're going to the gym. We're doing work. We're playing video games. Yeah, we're going to sort through it in a way that's beneficial for us, and also through shamanism as well.
keep your kids away from him while he does it. That's what you should do. Now, there's going to be a lot of pushback from the things I've said, so I want to take a moment to address two important things. There are going to be people who adhere to a more blank slate mentality, belief system. And they might say the reason why men and women release their emotions differently is because men at a young age, they're not allowed to express their emotions like women are. If men complained or cried, they would be punished for doing the exact same things women are allowed to do. And this might affect them on a neurological level. Remember, it's said that men tend to use only one side, while women tend to use both. And this might affect men and women on a neurological level. I mean, when you're young, your brains are incredibly malleable. And this could explain why men can't even verbalize their emotions on the same level that women can. So other neurological differences you might find in the brain might not be inherent proof that these gender differences are inherently biological, but rather they're social, which is,
and that would make sense. I mean, I know that almost all people who watch this channel are women, so women are allowed to cry. Women cry a lot. Men are taught not to cry, but weak men use performative crying. And I talk about this on the deep dive I'm doing this weekend, but I was trying to explain something to somebody about 2 years ago. I was trying to explain something to somebody who wasn't hearing the words. I was trying to tell them something, mainly about how they were hurting me and other people. And I was trying to verbalize it. I couldn't. And then so I started fake crying. And I was like, oh God. And I was like, why am I doing this? And because words were failing. And so I tried to appeal to him emotionally. I tried to appeal to them and say, you're really hurting, blah, blah, blah. And I saw it. I saw it clearly. I was like, oh my God, how long have I been doing this? That's one of those feminized behaviors. When men cry, it's usually manipulative, because a man wouldn't necessarily cry unless he's on drugs or men just don't cry all that much. I mean, every now and then we will cry, but I haven't cried really since I've been sober. The only time I've really cried is during an intense pain buddy session, but largely I just don't cry anymore. It's not that I don't, but there's really nothing to cry over. I mean, the only reason somebody would cry is pain body. But women are allowed to cry. Women are expected to cry. Women think crying means that you're in you're crying. Women, you can support me on this. So women cry a lot. But if a man cries, I was told, well, shut your crying, be a man, grow up. So are you crying, or are you genuinely expressing emotion? Today when I see a man crying like Aubrey Marcus, I'm like, that's manipulative. When grown men don't cry, not in public. No. There's been some times that I've felt like I was gonna cry on camera, and I turned the camera off because y'all don't need to see that. No, not at all.
It's honestly a very interesting theory, but there is just one problem. What about transsexuals then? Why won't you say the exact same thing about transsexuals? We're told that these transsexual women are born with much more feminine brains. This causes them to act more feminine and more like women, and therefore they are women. Yet they abandon this exact same line of logic when men act masculine and women act feminine. It's all social constructs, they say, when it's men acting like men and women acting like women. But when it's a transsexual, now it's genetic. Now it's biological. This is a logical inconsistency. You can't say it's biological in one instance and social in the next. I've looked into the neurological differences between heterosexuals, transsexuals, homosexuals, feminine men, and masculine women, and I can say that there is no stronger defense out there to the idea that gender, yes, gender, is biological than the scientific findings behind why transsexuals are the way they are. Absolutely nobody on that side of the fence is going to say that transsexuals arise due to their environment. The reality is, though, you need to pick a side. Are transsexuals born that way and gender is biologically determined? Or is gender a social construct and we are responsible for why transsexuals even exist? You cannot eat your cake and have it too. With
that's true. That argument kind of dispels itself, that people are just born trans, that it's not social. I mean, I personally, I don't necessarily believe that people are born gay. I think it's a combination of upbringing. I think certain things get flipped on. But also I think that being gay is your get out of jail free card. I think gay people tend to come from fucked up families. I do. I think gay people tend to come from fucked up families, but it doesn't mean that being gay is wrong. It doesn't mean that being gay is something to hate in another person. Just and even if you're trans, but I definitely think that it's a social thing. I think that you can be programmed as well. So, but see, I was, me being gay, I mean, I was raised by farmers. But so how did I turn gay? I mean, did somebody diddle me as a child? Did I have a absent father and an overbearing mother? Or, something was fucked up in my family, of course. But at the same time, that is true. His argument is true. Is it biological or is it social?
Alone, I just at least hope I've given you something to think about. Look into these things yourself. And the second point that people might bring up is that dealing with your emotions in a strict masculine way is unhealthy compared to how women handle it. This is why women themselves less than men do. This is wrong. Do you want to know why? Because women attempt to fight far more than men do. Women just don't succeed as much. Because popping pills and cutting is far less successful than grabbing the old shoddy and aiming it a good 90 degrees upward, or jumping off a high place, or driving into a tree 180 miles per hour. If women attempted the same way men did, we would see way higher rates in women than in men. We wouldn't even need to mention the fact that in the 1950s, when gender roles were their most strict, where men weren't allowed to show their emotions or cry in public or talk about them, was at its lowest. If it was connected to being masculine, then we would see a reduction in suicide, not an increase, which leads.
And that's interesting, because when men were allowed to provide for their family, see, here's the thing I know about men: they want to love their women. They do. Men take pride in raising their children and providing for their family. They do. I know this to be true. And men are happiest when they're providing for those that they love, at least masculine men. And, when men were able to do that, when they were able to work a job and provide for their wives and their children, that's interesting, isn't it? But also there were male spaces too. Like, men could be men. Like, women were not necessarily in the workplace. And this might seem extreme to you, but, it's not been fair for either sexes, okay? Because for the first time in human history, let me say that women being forced to go to work, even if they didn't want to. Women being forced to get a job, which was probably a government scheme, because why tax one income when you could tax two? I mean, let's be clear. So, now to raise a family, you almost, the wife has to work. The man and the woman both have to work. And unless you're really rich, and even then, but I don't think it was fair, because women going into offices or workplaces could have been seen as very disruptive. Women wearing makeup or women appearing attractive in the workplace. Now men could no longer be men. I go to men's meetings and I go to mixed meetings. I've also been to some women only meetings, because me being gay, they think, oh, you're like a girl, Patrick, you can come in. But women talk differently when men aren't around. Men talk differently when women aren't around. And even in the men's groups that I go to, men articulate how they feel. They're getting better at it. And usually when a man first gets into recovery, they're like, shit, I gotta talk about things. I gotta talk about how they feel. So I do think that the destruction of male only spaces and women only spaces is a detriment. I think it's a detriment. I think we should bring back men only spaces and women only spaces. Women need women. Men need men. I do think that would be beneficial to society at large.
Me to believe it has to do with other societal problems such as economic problems and drug abuse. Not being able to own your own home, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Before we cover the last part of the video where we talk about healthy alternatives to therapy if they don't work for you, be sure to subscribe if you made it this far. If you enjoyed this video, you sure will enjoy what else is on this channel. What is a good healthy alternative to therapy if it just doesn't work for you, man or woman? Well, the answer is actually physical activities and working out. There actually have been studies that show that exercise is literally 1.5 times more effective than therapy or medication, at least in terms of dealing with things like depression. So the bro advice of just, well, work out is actually scientifically supported. But once again, I'm not telling you to work out or to do therapy or do anything. Do what is best for you. You know yourself better than me. I'm not your daddy or your mommy, but I at least hope I explained on behalf of all of the men and women who don't find therapy to be effective and just don't understand why. Well, hopefully I articulated it for them and for you to also understand. So please, be more sympathetic towards them and don't be pushy with these things like therapy onto them. That does nobody any good. Just because it worked well for you doesn't mean it's going to work well for other people. I hope you understand that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you agree or disagree, let me know your thoughts down below. This is a very interesting special video. It is something I actually articulated very recently. So let me know your thoughts. Anyway.
I like that video. I do, because I do think that men really do need some help. Even if it's help articulating it or even knowing that they matter. Men really do matter. They really, really do. And as we come out of this psyop, this sort of girl boss psyop, I think that, they wanted Kamala to be president. And I think that men were misportrayed in our culture in order to help a woman president get elected. I think women deserve better. I think a woman can be elected as president on her own merits. I don't think she needs a psyop. I don't think she needs a multi-mainstream media machine to help her get elected. If we are to ever have a woman president, let it be on her own merits and not because you had to denigrate and demonize a whole ass gender. Last year, I had to quit my job because I was sick, too sick to work. And I was considering not doing any of this at all. I was considering doing music. And someone reached out to me and said, Patrick, you're an elder. You need to step into your elder role. You need to help people. You have to step into your elder role. You have to. I'm sorry. And he sent me this book, The Archetype of Initiation. And so I read this book and I studied it. And I realized, we don't have, well, I knew this already, but I realized that we really do need to help boys become men. And I'm not talking about boys, not 13, 14-year-old boys, but boys, men who never had the opportunity to grow up. And so, yeah, I am interested in helping men initiate into adulthood. I really am. I think it's a really thing that is needed. So we're going to talk about in this next part about how therapy may not work for men at all. May not work for women either, but today we're going to focus on men. I am a man. I feel very capable and interested in helping men. So the problem, wait a minute. Why is this like this? Why is this like this? Oh, I know why, there we go. Thank you. The problem with conventional therapy. Therapy often comes wrapped in a language and structure that doesn't always land for men. Sitting in a sterile office, dissecting your feelings week after week can feel like endless self-flagellation without resolution. Many men walk away thinking, is this all there is? Traditional therapy tends to be pathologizing, turning human struggle into disorders rather than initiations or opportunities for transformation. Men also don't always thrive in environments that feel too clinical or overly focused on verbal analysis. Many men process through action, ritual, initiation, and confrontation with something bigger than themselves. Therapy doesn't usually offer that. Some men don't see any value in sitting in an office and talking about your problems. Many men don't see that. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, at the end, I was using therapy to come to terms with the fact that I was having a normal emotional reaction to the insanity all around me. And it was about wrapping my head around what was really going on with me. I had a really difficult time understanding how destructive and damaging my family was to me and themselves. I had a hard time coming to terms with that. So when I went to therapy, I was just like, I would just run things by them. They were helping me come to terms with it. But literally anybody could have helped me come to terms with that. A shaman, somebody else in the program. And in fact, many people in the program were trying to help me come to terms with it. One man who's, I want to say they're older than me. They're not. They're just like 5 years older than me. But because I myself am now older. But he said, Patrick, it's just untreated alcoholism. That's all it is. It's just untreated alcoholism. And that's all it is. It's untreated alcoholism. But anybody can help you initiate. You can initiate yourself. I mean, I kind of had to initiate myself. I did. But there are alternatives for men seeking healing. Let's talk about those. There's men's groups and circles, spaces where men can share raw truths, confront one another, and build accountability. Less clinical, more primal, kind of like in those semen retention circles that I talked about. And also in yesterday's video, I talked about that as well. Also, martial arts, embodied practices, boxing, jiu-jitsu, yoga, or even weight training become paths to integration when framed as spiritual or initiatory disciplines. The body processes trauma just as much as the mind. And one of the cures for IBS is strenuous physical activity. Strenuous. Get sweaty, get in there. But also the pain body resists going to the gym. The pain body doesn't want people going to the gym. If you want to go back to the episode that I made earlier this week, how the ego and pain body work together, strenuous physical activity processes that trauma out. And nothing makes you feel better than being thin and muscular. I mean, I've been thin and muscular at times in my life. I'm in the process of getting back into the shape I was in my late 30s. I was in really good shape in my late 30s. So I'm working towards getting back to that really good shape. The more I work out, the better I feel. And men can process things through working out, like lift some fucking weights, for God's sakes. Also, spiritual retreats and vision quests. Removing yourself from daily life, fasting, and being in nature strips away distractions and connects you to your raw essence. This provides the initiation men secretly crave. Like I can talk to somebody and help initiate them. And I have changed my approach and how I work with people. Like I used to work with people thinking they wanted spiritual advice from me. I no longer do that. When I meet with people now, I ask them questions. I want them to realize it on their own. And that is a huge shift I've made in the way that I work with people. I just ask them questions and I see them realize things on their own. I don't have to tell them anything. I can just ask the right questions. And of course, shamanism. Now, this is where things get very interesting for men. Now, shamanism is not for pussies, okay? And I talk about shamanism on this channel. I don't really do a lot of shamanism on this channel. I kind of keep that between me and certain people. Like, you'll probably never see me channeling spirits on the Shaman Patrick show. You probably won't see me doing a ritual. And in fact, the last time I was going to do a ritual on camera, the internet went out. So I'm probably not going to do that stuff on camera. I will do it in private in groups and maybe one-on-one, but I'm probably not going to make that a part of this. The Shaman Patrick show is going to be me talking about stuff from the perspective of a shaman. All right. So, but shamanism gets really interesting. It resonates with men in this regard. Shamanism is not therapy. It's initiation. It's about facing the raw forces of life and death, psyche and spirit, shadow and light. Instead of dissecting symptoms, shamanism frames suffering as spiritual challenge and opportunity for growth. One of the things that we do is confrontation with the shadow. Shamanic journeys force you to meet your demons head on. Men often resonate with this warrior-like approach. Don't talk about the monster, face it. There's also ritual and structure. Men crave structure. Shamanism provides frameworks, ritual, ceremony, initiation that help anchor the chaos of inner transformation. And I found that men respond really well to discipline, myself included. I'm out of water. My father was not very disciplined. And you know, people might think that discipline is about punishment. It's not. Discipline equals freedom. Like, if you get up at the same time every day, if you do your job every day, if you just take care of what needs to be, discipline is doing something even when you don't feel like it. And if you are a disciplined person, you will actually find yourself free to do more things. You won't be at the whims of your emotions. You won't be at the whims of maybe your financial state. You'll be disciplined in mind, disciplined in body. Life gets better for people who are disciplined because they do things even when they don't feel like it. So men respond really well to discipline, whether it's a workout routine or getting up at the same time every day. Men, I would say men do better with discipline. Women may not do better with discipline, but men sure as hell do. And then we have embodiment and action. Shamanic healing involves drumming, chanting, breath work, movement, fasting, or even psychedelic medicines. It's experiential, not just analytical. Men often learn more from doing than from taking. Now, you might say, well, Patrick, are you against psychedelics? No. I am not against psychedelics. I know people are going to do them. I know that people benefit from them. But I will maintain that they are not necessary. But sometimes, one time is not all that bad. No, one time is not all that bad, but why risk it if you don't really need it? Most of the people, I can't stop people from doing the psychedelic experiences, but they are what they are. You know, they can be the dividing line between the old you and the new you, but many men would be interested in doing that shit. So I know I can say that it's the medicine. For many people, it's the medicine, but I'm definitely not going to place an emphasis on those things at all. I'm not trying to make enemies here, but I do know that people will use drugs, and drugs are often the initiation into the higher consciousness. And whether that man wants to step into the higher consciousness or stay with those drugs, it's up to him. Then we have myth and story. Men relate to archetypes. The warrior, the king, the trickster. Shamanism gives a mythological lens to suffering, turning depression into a descent into the underworld and addiction into a possession by a hungry spirit. This reframes struggle as meaningful instead of broken. And then finally, you got the brotherhood. Many shamanic traditions involve the community. Men don't heal in isolation. They heal when they realize they are part of something larger than their ego and their pain. And it's the brotherhood. It's the fellowship. When I go to men's meetings, there's lots of love there. There's not competition. It's men helping other men. And I think that that's really great. And it should be. Women, here, I'm going to tell you, women can't really help a man because they don't know what a man goes through. They really don't. And men cannot really help women because men don't know what women go through, really. I mean, we can be there for each other. I myself have helped a lot of women because I will be able to look at what a woman is going through and offer a perspective, a gay man's perspective. Some people love a gay man's perspective because we are at home with our feminine stuff as much as we are at home with our masculine stuff. So gay men in particular can be very beneficial to both men and women. But just for the average walkabout person, a woman can never really know what a man goes through, really, because she's not a man, and vice versa. So the brotherhood and the fellowship of men and women really comes alive when you're helping each other. And here's the thing, like, I don't even want to help men for any sexual reasons either. Some men might be afraid to work with a gay shaman because they're afraid that he would develop feelings for them. But no, I'm married. No. I genuinely want to help people. I'm not interested in any of that stuff anymore. Maybe I was at some point, but I don't look at people as sexual objects anymore. I've got my sexuality and my sexual energy under control. I don't look at men in that way anymore, even though men are really handsome. But as soon as you get to know a man, yeah, he's just a human being. I don't look at people that way anymore. And Merrick and I, we wanted to start a men's group in our local community, but we also know that in our world, they may I'm not going to that fag group. I'm not going to go to that fag group. So I might start a men's group on Zoom. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave that to the men. I do have a final word about this. Men don't necessarily need more therapy. They need more initiation. Shamanism offers that by treating wounds as gateways to power, not diagnoses. The masculine psyche responds well to frameworks that honor courage, confrontation, and transformation. Therapy says, tell me how you feel. Shaman says, pick up the drum, step into the fire, and find out who you really are. There we have it. That's how we could really help men. And if you're a man and you want to work with a shaman, you don't have to work with me. In fact, it might go better if you work with somebody that you don't know, somebody who doesn't make YouTube videos. Maybe just do a down low shaman. But men who are having a lot of problems, we should encourage them to go ahead and initiate. I advise all men to read this book, Archetype of Initiation, Owning Your Shadow, and also Gantz. This is a manga, Gantz. All men should read Gantz. It's a good manga. I love Gantz. I love it. But those are just a few books that all men should read and know about. But the problem with men is they need to initiate. Men need to go from boyhood to manhood. And when men do this, they find a lot of their issues fall away. And for God's sakes, get sober. Real men are sober, for God's sakes. All right, that's this episode for today. I learned a lot today. I hope you did. Now I'm going to play the song, Fuck Your Master's Degree. It's a song about a man who dated a therapist and she kept trying to diagnose him. I think it's one of our best AI songs that we've ever done. So enjoy, and I will see you tomorrow. Mwah.
You sat there with your clipboard smile, diagnosing me the whole damn while. You said I had issues, you said I should pay, but baby, you were the problem every day. You got your letters, your fancy degree, but you couldn't heal the wreck inside. degree. You don't know a damn thing about me. You broke my heart, now you're history. Pack your couch and your pity party. Fuck your master's degree. Every session was just a fight. Gaslight, gospel in the middle of the night. You wore therapists like a crown of thorns, but you stabbed me deeper with every form. You analyzed me while you tore me apart, but Freud don't cover a cold black heart. You think you're brilliant, but here's the tea. Your diploma don't mean shit to me. Fuck your master's degree. You don't know a damn thing about me. You broke my heart, now you're history. Take your textbooks, burn the fantasy. Fuck your master's degree. Oh, Dr. Disaster, Miss Know-It-All Queen. You study dysfunction, but you're still mean. You can't prescribe what you can't see. The cure is me walking free. Fuck your master's degree. You don't know a damn thing about me. You broke my heart, now I'm finally free. Your therapy's just hypocrisy. Fuck your master's degree.